Let's get it, baby. Week 3 of the college football season is here, and it's your boy Ray G, one half of the Wake Up Crew, back to talk some college football plays over on PRIZEPICKS for this college football game on Saturday. Yes, it's going down. Quick recap of the plays that we talked about last week. The 3 core plays: Anthony Richardson over 2.5 touchdowns versus Kentucky. Let us down. He didn't do anything. Was absolutely wrecked by Kentucky's defense. But I did tell you, take E.J. Smith over 14.5 fantasy score. Cash that like in the first quarter, as well as Xavier Valade over his fantasy score. I think I got it at 13.5. It got bumped up to 15, but he cashed that as well. And then some of the additional plays, man, if you just ran everything that we talked about here last week, you would have went 4 for 6, and it would have been a very profitable day. Jordan Addison got his touchdown. We talked about that touchdown play for Jordan Addison. Evan Hull, we talked about his fantasy score. He had 200 receiving yards in the game as a running back. Absolutely crushed his fantasy score. So overall, so far in the season, pretty damn good over here on the Ray GQ YouTube channel, talking college football props. So if it's your first time here, we don't charge for picks. All I do is ask that you drop a thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel, comment below, and let me know who you're looking at this Saturday. Got a couple of players I want to discuss here in a second. Let's get into it right now.
Winds up, down the field, Hollywood! Touchdown!
Intensity. This is amazing. I mean, I have never in my life seen anything like this.
Lobs it in the air! Oh! What a catch! Touchdown! The best player in America. Period. Who is this kid? Where'd he come from? He hit it! You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me? Hurt my feelings.
All right, let's do it. Let's take a look at the board right now. And the first player that I want to talk about is Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman, his receiving yard total right here, more or less 80.5. I like the more for Cedric Tillman. So let's talk about Tillman for a minute. And let me pull my notes up. I've got a lot of notes here that we're going to talk through. Cedric Tillman, Tennessee in general, when you're talking about this team, they're 10th in college football in points per game, averaging 46.5 points per game. They're 5th in college football, over 120 damn teams, 19.8 seconds per play. So they're moving the ball quickly. They're putting up points, and they're getting off plays in a very short order. They're 18th in completions per game and 16th in passing yards per game at 338, with one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Hendon Hooker. When you're looking at Cedric Tillman, man, right now in the SEC, he's tied for the lead in targets and receptions with 15. And on his own team, he's got 230 receiving yards, with the next closest receiver right at 100. There are only 2 players, 100 receiving yards or more on the Tennessee Volunteers. It's Jalen Hyatt. He's got 12 for 100. And it's Cedric Tillman with 15 for 230, second in the SEC in receiving yards, only behind Antoine Wells of South Carolina. Listen, his yards per route run, 3.88 yards per route run, which was 9th in the college football, and his 15.4 average depth of target is 5th in the NCAA. He's running a route on 95% of snaps that he's out there. Cedric Tillman is a dog. He is the guy for Tennessee. And you look at his first 2 games of the season, 68 on September 1st versus Ball State, and then 162 yards versus Pittsburgh. He's averaging 117 over his last 5 games. Cedric Tillman, you see him on the title. He's on the thumbnail. He's on the cover. Really like Cedric Tillman this week for Tennessee. I'm taking more than 80.5 yards. Now, I want to go to a fantasy score, and I hope it's the same as I saw it yesterday. And it's Anthony Grant, the running back from Nebraska. They've got Oklahoma coming into Lincoln. We know Scott Frost was fired, but Anthony Grant's fantasy score, right? Anthony Grant is, I believe, 3rd in college football in rush attempts. He's 2nd or 3rd in yards. He's been on the field for 74 snaps, and of those 74 snaps, he's got 67 carries, which is top 3 in college football. Anthony Grant is an older player playing against young kids, and with a coaching change and an offense that's high-powered like Oklahoma, the best way to keep them off of the field is utilize this absolute stud of a running back. And you see what he's done so far. Every game this season, he has blown past this fantasy score of 15, 24.7, 31.9, and 19.8. I'm banking on the volume. When he's on the field, he's toting the rock and he's producing. He leads college football in touchdowns, scored with 5 rushing touchdowns. Anthony Grant, more than 15 fantasy score. I really like this matchup as well for him. Now let's go to a late game. So these are 2 ones, 6 o'clock game, 11 o'clock game. There are some other plays that we may identify and post in the comments later, so come back and check in. But let's go to the late night game, because this is why I want to take all these players, right? USC versus Fresno State in the late night. And right now, Jake Haener, you see the quarterback for Fresno State, 310 passing yards. Caleb Williams, quarterback for USC, 300.5 passing yards. These teams are not good defensively. USC is 94th in total defense across the board, across college football. Caleb Williams, you look at what he's done so far this season, 249 versus Rice and then 341 versus Stanford. Jake Haener has not had a game this season below 360 passing yards, 377 in week 1, and then versus Oregon State last week, 360 yards. I'm not going to pair these players with anybody else on the early slate, but I'm hammering the Moors. Caleb Williams, more than 300 passing yards, 301 passing yards. Jake Haener, more than 310 passing yards, as well as some of the other players from this game. Jordan Mims, the running back from Fresno State, believe the line is set at 62.5 rushing yards for Jordan Mims. He's been fantastic to start the season. 73, 122 versus Oregon State. USC's run defense is not good. I told you to play E.J. Smith last week. He shredded them. He had 50 yards in the first damn quarter versus USC and put up a lot of points. As well did, there's a running back from Rice. I don't even know who he is, but he had 9 carries for 100 yards versus USC. So this line, we have him projected in our model at 90 yards for Jordan Mims. Really like this number for Jordan Mims, 62.5 yards. And then let's get to the big dog, Jordan Addison. I'm not fading it this week, right? I didn't touch it last week. I'm not fading it this week. In a game that is the projected highest total scoring on the slate this weekend, it's 74. USC versus Fresno State, projected total points 74. Jordan Addison is going to get his early. His fantasy score of 20.5 is something that I absolutely love. 22.4 versus Rice, 36.2 versus Stanford, and that was against one of the best corners in the country, Kyer Blue Kelly. I'm not fading Jordan Addison this weekend. He's more than 20.5 fantasy score. Now, again, I don't necessarily want to pair it with some of these earlier plays, but he is getting run. I've already ran him up. It is going down, and I hope you were able to get Jarrell Brock, the running back from Iowa State. PrizePicks had the line at 85.5. 85.5 yesterday. It dropped on the books at 112. Then this got bumped up to 110. So the thing with college, man, they're going to continue to fluctuate these players. One more guy I want to talk about real quick, and, it dropped a little bit from yesterday. So Antoine Wells, he is the leading receiver in the SEC. This is a game versus Georgia in which they are going to be behind. He's got Spencer Rattler at quarterback. I like Antoine Wells, man. I like this number at 51.5, and I know it's against Georgia's defense. I put him on a ticket or two just because I have the conviction he's the leading target getter for South Carolina. They're going to have to throw the ball versus Georgia. It's a risky play because that defense is so damn good. I would not make it a core play, but Antoine Wells could potentially give you some value here, and they actually dropped the line. It was 57.5 yesterday, and now it's 51.5. So they're projecting Spencer Rattler not to do much. But the 2 players that I really like, Cedric Tillman, more than 80.5 receiving yards, and Anthony Grant, more than 15 fantasy score for this Saturday, as well as everybody from the USC game. Caleb Williams, Jake Haener, Jordan Addison, and Jordan Mims, like all 4 of those players as well. So appreciate you tapping in the channel. If you tail, give PrizePicks hell, and if we fail, do not bail. Enjoy college football on the weekend. Myself as well as Jay Rich will be back with an NFL video for the Sunday games. Let me know who you're playing below. Comment. Let me know what you think of these 2 plays. And if I find anything else that I like there's a lot to grind through for the college football slate, I will post those in the comments. We'll pin them, post them, and then we'll recap it come next week. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Good luck and enjoy. I'm out. Peace.